overexertion. Healy also has non-medical applications that use individualized frequencies to help balance your mind and body and relieve stress. So before we get into the content of what we're going to talk about today, Yoda, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your background and kind of your own experience with Healy, how you got into it, and your personal experience.
Sure. I've been doing bioenergetic medicine now for over 13 years. Not only have I practiced it, but I've written the software for it, for two of the systems that I work with, and expanded those databases. So in working with frequencies and the type of work that we do in our practice, I noticed that how powerful frequencies were, and it didn't really matter what type of frequency it was, whether it was light, sound, microcurrent, many different types. So I've been seeing different clients for years, and Michelle came to me right before, I want to say it was around the end of February, beginning of March, and she started talking to me about Healy. And I was familiar with Time Waver because I have other German equipment in my office. So I kind of just looked at her and was like, okay, I'll look at it, no problem. She got the device in, she brought it over, and then she demanded that I try it. So she hog-tied me, and I was like, I got all this stuff, I don't really need this. And for those of you who don't know, I've had over 20 surgeries in my abdomen over the last 3 years, some very serious complications from a big surgery. And when she did the resonance, the very first thing that came up was scars and things that had to do with the skin and healing. So, of course, right there, I thought that was fascinating. When she ran the scar program on me, within 20 minutes, my abdomen had already started to relax. So that was the first time in 3 years that the abdomen has relaxed. And it caught my attention because I was due for surgery number 21 this past month, and it stayed relaxed. And I haven't had to do, I only ran the SCAR program one other time, and was quite impressed with it. So of course, within the first 20 minutes of running the program, I had to order a Healy for myself, and had to grab my business partner, Mary, and tell her we had to do this. I've never backed a product before in my life, never stood behind a company, and I've never asked my clients to ever be invested in anything like this. So it was a big step for us. And that's how much I believe in the technology.
Amazing. That's great. So now maybe we can get into the topic of stress, and maybe you can talk about the different types of stress and how it shows up in different parts in our mental, physical, emotional body.
Certainly. Well, everyone experiences stress, whether we're consciously aware of it or subconsciously aware of it. Stresses that we don't think about can be something like driving in a car for 8 hours, running a 5-mile marathon, heavy duty working out, things like that can create stress in our body. It's also a stress reliever for certain things. Other things that are stressful that we don't necessarily understand is that our body doesn't know the difference of what stress is. Only our brain tells us if something's a good stress or a bad stress. So you could win the lottery, or you could have a parent die or something like that. Your body will have the same response. It's just your brain says one is better than the other. You still have a cortisol release. You still have all these chemicals releasing in your body. Just one of them is considered a good stress. The other one is not. So we also have stress as we see today in the world that we live in, between COVID, financial marketing, kids being homeschooled, all kinds of different stresses that are being thrown at us and we're living in and having to make those modifications every day. So we have things that are like an acute stress where you could break a bone or have a birth of a child, things like that, where it's just a quick thing. Or we can have what's called a chronic or sustained stress. And it's that chronic stress over time that starts to have a mental, emotional, and physical change on our body. Because when cortisol is released and floating around and what it does into the body and all the changes that take place, it starts to wear down certain parts of our system. So I went online just to see if I could find something interesting. And I found an article from Mayo Clinic that talks about common effects of stress. So, and this will lead into some of the things that we'll do and how we pick different programs as we go on. So on your body, if you have a headache, your mood could be anxiety, but on your behavior, it could show up as overeating or undereating. When it comes to muscle tension or pain, your mood could be restlessness, and your behavior could be angry outbursts. When you come to chest pain, you could have lack of motivation or focus for your mood, drug or alcohol misuse as your behavior. On your body, fatigue. That's one of the things that people don't realize as stress is fatigue. Your mood could be feeling of overwhelm. Your behavior could be excess tobacco use. Change in your sex drive could be on your physical body. You could have irritability or anger as your mood, and then your behavior would be social withdrawal. Stomach upset, which is another big one, that from little kids all the way up to adults. Your mood could be sadness or depression, and then on your behavior, you start exercising less or not moving as much. And then, of course, sleep problems, and they have their own, that has its own cascade of what it does to you. So we have the physical changes that take place. Obviously, as we saw, headaches are very common. So we have people who will be running programs for migraines, and if they haven't worked, that program hasn't worked for you, then you need to look at the fact that that headache is not specifically a headache in a certain way. You need to look at it from a stress standpoint, because maybe you need to run a program like Relax or Release or one of the Gold programs or other programs that you can run that would help in that situation, because it's not a true migraine, it's only one portion of that. The other side of it is your body has lots of compensation to it and the way that it can compensate. So the one that's overlooked and most people don't understand and is not really regulated much is the fact that it impacts your lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system, which is a part of your immune system and is also a part of your, waste, removing waste from your body, that actually is like a buffer and holds our emotions that kind of protect us and keep us from having diseases. But over time, as that chronic stress is present, your immune system will start to break down. You'll start to see people starting, over time with autoimmune disorders, white blood count issues, digestive issues, elimination issues, impacting your blood pressure, your cardiovascular system, because your lymphatic system is also is part of your circulatory system. So it's filtering constantly. And when there's stress and you have all this excess cortisol, what happens in your system is your body tends to develop and hold on to fats and triglycerides, things like that clog up that system. So it begins to work less efficiently and starts to have a breakdown. So in those situations, the people are running their Healy, especially if you have the resonance and it keeps coming up something under skin and you keep wondering why. One of the programs under the skin has to do with your lymphatic system, because we want our lymphatic system working well. Or you might start seeing immune issues or things like that start to break down, that need support in the bioenergetic resonance that helps support that. I was asked earlier about frequencies and how the body, or how it knows what you need. So people who have the resonance model, when you're doing your scans, it's going to give you five areas to look at. And then you have, as you look into each program, then within each program, it'll give you more. So it's unique to you. Now, granted, your Healy and the way that it operates for you is not so unique as it is the software behind the scenes that are running for you, which are very complex algorithms and doing all of the heavy duty work where it comes out as something very simple for you and you don't have to interpret that information. So when you're running those programs and giving yourself frequencies, I was asked about whether you could get the wrong frequency, or could frequencies hurt you? Your body's only going to accept the frequencies that you need. It's only going to take in what it needs. A lot of times you'll see when you run into the black, I call it the black circle of death. As you see that's where you have those blockages, and those are the frequencies that you need the most. When it's white and kind of whipping through it, you already have those frequencies. They don't resonate with you at this point, so it's going to continue to move on, and you're only going to get the frequencies that your body needs and at the amount that it needs. Nothing more, nothing less. There's no way to give yourself technically too many frequencies unless you're asking your body to do too many things at one time, which therefore leads to stress, which is what we're all trying to avoid. Does anybody have anything else you want to ask?
Can you talk a little, so for those of us that have the resonance, we have the ability to scan and we know what our body needs. What about people who have other models and can't scan? Can you give some examples of programs that can help with stress and what they do and what they address?
Sure. So the first thing for everyone that has from the Gold up to the Healy Holistic Health Plus, in there, most of the time you're going to run, I always recommend running a Gold program, especially balance, being, relax are very good ones to run. We also have, a lot of people will have symptoms, which I read a list of different types of symptoms. So whether you have a headache or your digestive system, circulation, the skin program, depression, anxiety, things like that. So whatever you feel at that moment that's bothering you, then that would be a program that you would run, is to start there. If you're not getting the relief that you're looking for, then you kind of have to look at and say, okay, how is this affecting my behavior? Is this affecting my sleep? Am I too short with people? Am I flying around with like a chicken with my head cut off? Things that stand out that are different. And a lot of times we don't even recognize until someone points it out to us that, gee, you're awfully crabby today. Or, you seem withdrawn today. So those are the information that we would take from people around us, or are recognizing within our own self on a conscious level as to what it is that resonates with us, and to run those programs. And then for other people, kind of just getting a looking at the different programs in the manual and understanding what they do. One of them will pop out at you, or a couple of them might pop out, and using your own intuition, those would be great places to start.
As far as starting, I know last week we talked a little bit about starting out slow and avoiding some major detox symptoms. So I thought maybe we could address that a little more in a little more detail, which programs, how often, just as our bodies get used to frequencies.
Yep. When I first started off in bioenergetic medicine, I kind of thought it was a joke, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, what's a little frequency going to do? It's not that big of a deal. It's very powerful. Take it from me. I have lots of clientele that could early on can attest to what was known as healing crises, which were nothing more than I pushed their bodies too far, too fast. So I recommend to people, when you're first getting it, even with all your excitement, is always run one of the pure, starting off with one of the Gold cycles. Pure is always a very good one to start with. And just getting your body used to frequency and seeing how your body's going to respond to it. So think of when you're running a program, it's no different than having a conversation with somebody, and then all of a sudden it's one-on-one. Next thing you know, you're in a room of people and you got 15 people talking, and all those programs that you've run are like 15 different instructions to your body. So then your body's like, wait, what am I supposed to do? Which way am I supposed to be going? I don't understand what you want from me. So after, generally that's where I started with, was the pure. I like to run the balance one quite a bit. So, for me, I just do it whenever it resonates. Then starting to pick programs that seem to resonate, whether it's concentration, pain, insomnia, whatever floats your boat, whatever pain, people are in pain. Those are always a good place to work with. But you don't want to be doing too many of them at once, because at that time, you're going to start running into problems. And I see here we have someone that says, can you explain what a Herx reaction is? So a Herx reaction can be something as simple as all of a sudden you're in the bathroom and you have diarrhea. Maybe you've been sleeping well for the last few weeks and all of a sudden you're on a program and now you can't sleep at all. Fatigue could be something, a headache out of nowhere. Pain can be another one, irritability. So any of those can be a Herxing reaction. And in that, I always tell people, I can give you an example that my business partner, Mary, when I got my Healy, I think I had it for a day and a half, when she took it and ran with it. And she had it hooked to her 24/7. And I cannot tell you how many programs Mary ran in 3 or 4 days. And the next thing you know, Mary was doubled over in pain as if somebody had punched her in the gut. She had to sit down because she was nauseous, sweating profusely. And I want to say she felt miserable for about two days. Yeah. About 2 days. And everyone's like, stop running the Healy. So.
And I also want to point out how important hydration is. Maybe you can address that with the Healy as well.
Yes, because, our body is 80% water. We are electrical. So water is what, being well hydrated, first off, is what makes a good connection through our skin for the microcurrent. But also that current has to travel through those hydrated cells. And it supports you and gives you, in order to get those frequencies. Caviar, is this basically rifing? Absolutely not. Rifing, you can do 1, maybe 2 programs. You have to know the exact frequency that you need. This has an array of frequencies that will scan, that'll go from 0 all the way up into the hundreds of thousands of those frequencies. So rifing does not have the ability to oscillate through, and you also have to know which frequency you're looking for. All right.
So, yeah, if you want, I can do the questions for you.
Yes, please do.
Easier. Okay, so Colleen is asking, when using the resonance and vibrating to someone, can you explain why you would choose one over the other? And in those times that you choose the vibration, some have the time and a number and a Z. Does the Z
mean Hertz? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So when using the resonance and vibrating on someone, when you're running the resonance and it comes up with that whole list, you're vibrating several items at one time into it, because you have a program, and under those programs are going to be individual programs also. So when you're vibrating that, it's kind of like putting that in your field. No different than I'm talking to you and making suggestions. That's in your field. When I take out my Healy and actually attach it to me, then I'm directly putting something into me. I'm bringing that from outside of me and in my field into me. So your field is about 6 feet, roughly. If you don't know what a field is, imagine you're sitting in a room and you can feel someone behind you is angry. You're fully capable of understanding that, and that because it's in your field, you're aware of that situation. You don't need to see the person or talk to the person. The same thing as I can say chocolate. I'm just going to throw that out in all your field right now. Your body has a reaction to it, and it's measurable. You don't need to see it, smell it, or taste it. You already know what it is. And it says yum for most people. And you can say Brussels sprouts, and then half the people will be like, yuck. And that's something that's measurable. So vibrating, put something into your field. It's like a suggestion. And then when you actually run a specific program on you, that's directly coming into you. When it comes to the Hertz, when it's running the number, you'll see a number that'll say like 48 Hz. Those are the Hertz. That's whatever that frequency is. And then you'll see however many minutes are needed for that to take to run that program.
To add on to that, are there certain circumstances where it would be more beneficial to do one or the other? I've heard people talk about vibrating for more emotional things and using the microcurrent for more physical symptoms, or what's your feeling on that?
Yes, or also, well, vibrating, definitely for emotional issues, some mental type stuff or emotional things, but also children, people who are more fragile, animals, things like that. Acute situations, pain, lung circulation, things that you're running specifically on organ systems or into specific meridians, then you would want to actually run that program directly on you. Sleep. My daughter, when she was here at home, kicked out of college due to COVID, when she had to do her finals and had to do them online, she was very anxious, and I was very fortunate. I already had my Healy, and we were able to run the exam anxiety program on her an hour before her test, and she was calm as could be. So in that situation, it worked beautiful.
And then do you have a certain frequency that you would run the vibration, certain times?
When I run for myself, when it comes to vibrations, most of them, I don't even think about what time of day it is. I don't, it's like, to me, there's nothing negative that's going to be happening with vibration. In that, it's just a matter of, bringing out that balance so it doesn't, so it's like if you're going to vibrate a specific frequency, are you going to use Bach remedies? Are you going to do an I Ching? Are you going to use the gem elixirs, things like that? Those are things, when it gets to that point, those are a little bit, that's kind of like a one-shot thing. And I usually do those earlier in the day so that, because putting that in your field can have a reaction too. It tells you exactly what it works on. So it's going to be hitting you with that. Because it could disturb your sleep for sure. And
then let's see, Julie. Now I lost my question. Lori's asking, when you see the black circle of death, it means that's a cycle we really need. You mentioned, are we still getting the frequency when the ring is black?
Yes, you are. So the first thing, if you got black, is check your connection first. Number 2 is you can raise up, hit the positive button and raise up your frequency, the percentage that it's, that it is coming to you to feel it. But you're going to find in long-term chronic issues, you will see that black. So you're getting the frequency. It's just going to take time for that to work through, depending on the circumstances. So neuropathies, autoimmune disease. We just saw there was a video posted, and I think Frequencies for Life are one of them, about the woman who has MS and the 2 months of her continually running her programs and the successes she was having. Not everyone's going to have an instantaneous success all the time. It's all based on how chronic the situation is and how much your body needs that support.
Muriel's asking, are there programs that should not be run right before bed? Energy, anything that would stimulate you.
Also you have to know yourself. There are people who can take Benadryl, knocks them out. You have other people who can take Benadryl and they're speeding around like a nut job. So if you're one of those people that something's supposed to relax you and it makes you hyper, don't do anything relaxing before bed. I would highly not recommend that. Also pay attention to the programs that you're running, because you have multiple areas in programs that are going to give you similar, like there's multiple sleep programs, but what type of sleep issue are you having? So it's a matter of, do you need your central nervous system to settle down? Do you need your parasympathetic mode kicked in? Is it your delta sleep? Is it, there's many different things you can't relax. So you're looking for, in all of those, which ones of those which one resonates or sounds more familiar. So I don't recommend running sleep during the day, because for some people that's going to knock them out. Detoxing, I would recommend not doing at night. And the people who have the Healy Holistic Health Plus, the other ones that I really like for them is starting on, if you're doing one of the Pure, is also doing one of the Deep Cycle programs, starting with that I do kidney all, whether it, if it's a female, it's kidney all female. If it's a male, it's kidney all male. I like that one. I like to do that over the course of 3 or 4 days. From that one, then we move into the first application, getting your body ready. Do that for 3 or 4 days. Make sure you're feeling good. Build into the second application, the third. Then you can start moving into the breath of life. I would be very careful with clean all because that's detoxing. So I think you want to be ready to hit the bathroom if you need to. Digest all could be another one that could make you gassy or not feel so great. But going to the roots would be another one I would not recommend doing a whole bunch of other stuff with, as that's going to the root of the problem that you have.
And again, emphasizing to do those 1, 2, and 3 before you
absolutely
programs. Yeah. Jonathan is asking, what do you say when someone asks if it's like a TENS machine?
Okay, a TENS machine is, first off, it's a little bit stronger in the microcurrent, and in those hertz, it's only meant for muscle hertz, which are usually anywhere from 4 hertz up to 7 hertz. And then some of the active hertz of a muscle, when it's active, is like 12 to 14 hertz. So no, this is nothing like a TENS unit.
Thank you. In the pain app, Les is asking, for instance, there are programs that have symbols and Roman numerals. How do we know what area of pain it is for? Is there a chart that shows all the symbols on the Healy programs? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
To be honest with you, when it comes to the pain program, I know some, it's like I've only looked at it a few times. I've seen some of the Roman numerals. I've seen one that looks like a spine, another one that looks like a tooth, things like that. The pain programs that I've actually run, let's see here, where are they?
And while you look that up, Les, while you're, if you look in your program that's in your back office, you'll see all those programs listed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you'll just follow that.
So usually
chronic pain. Yeah.
Right. When I do like chronic pain, I have rheumatoid arthritis. So I have chronic pain and I have it systemically throughout my body at times. I've had success running the pain program simply through the wristbands on my wrist, just running that program. You can do something more specific with your jaw, or if you have tooth pain, or we placed it when you do like a localized type of pain where it's giving you options. If you know where your pain is, other than on your chest, please do not put these electrodes on your chest, and place them on your back, different areas, place them, above and below where you're having pain, and you can run those. It's no matter what you're sending to yourself, their pain frequencies, they're going to work pretty much for you regardless.
Let's see. Julie is asking, she just got her resonance last week and she's been running those 3 gold programs every day. She's had problems with her eye and she's asking if it would be okay at this point to start scanning and running. I don't know if you'd want to run all the top 5 programs, but.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're having problems with your eye, there's no reason, instead of even running the resonance, is to go straight to the eye program and run it on you. It's not going to cause any problems.
Yeah, it looks like she did do that and hasn't noticed a difference. So she's looking.
Okay, so if you're not noticing a difference, and it may be something depending on how chronic it is, you might have to run your eye program, multiple times. But it could be lymphatic. Lymphatic flow is the problem. There could be scarring. So your resonance will guide you as to what you need. And trust it, it may seem odd to you of what's coming up, but that's the priority of your body and that's unique to you. So it does know what you want. We all think that because we have this one specific problem, we know that that's it, but we don't know how we got to it. And every person is very unique and different. And the way that you work with that, each person can have the same condition, but we're going to approach it different ways with each person.
Someone's asking for someone that doesn't know anything about frequencies and how they heal the body. Do you have a recommended book or video?
Which one do you, hold on, Mary's pulling one up.
I'll pull it up in a minute.
But yes, there are several books out. We're just going to try and find one that's going to be more for a layperson instead of some of the more advanced books. But the way frequencies work, so when I got involved in this business, in working in this business, when I went to one of my first trainings, which I kind of chuckled about because I'm going to blame Mary for it. The gentleman, most of this technology was developed by a couple gentlemen, at least the machines here in the U.S. Germany's a little different. From two gentlemen, they're out in Utah. They're probably in their mid to upper 80s now. Both worked for NASA, and they worked in sonar technology. So in the sonar technology that they did was that pinging. So they sent off a little ping with dolphins, got the response back, something they could measure. Next thing you know, a missile system was built. From there, with that, they started working on the technology when the space station, when you went from the regular rocket system into the shuttle system, they had to record the energy off of every living and non-living thing in the universe so that they could do all the mathematical calculations when they brought the Challenger in, so that nothing could collide with it. So they had this massive database, which it's a pretty consistent number. It's actually more than 160,000, but the 160,000 frequencies off of that are the most common ones. But there's many more that can get much more intricate. So from that database, then with the way that it was strapped to people and the way that they were testing out people, was done more like a lie detector test. And I didn't like that component just because of the fact that it's reading too many variables. So anyone who's strapped up with something on their head, across their chest, on their wrists, you're going to automatically have stress. And that's an artifact. And that artifact is something that ruins how you read the information that you're given. So as those systems have moved forward in the different devices that are used, you're sending a signal into the body. It's something the body already knows, and it has an opinion on it. It's no different than, from layman's terms, we can start off with a basic yes or no question. How are you? And the body's going to respond, I'm fine. You can accept that answer and move on to the next question. But let's say you're at a water cooler and you see your friend Lisa standing there. Like, hi, Lisa, how are you? And Lisa says, I'm fine, but you can tell by looking at her, she's not. In that moment, you have a choice. You can either accept her answer and walk past her and go on with your day, or you can stop and say, no, you really don't look fine. Do you want to talk? That's how these systems are designed. So once it hits something that doesn't balance with you, it stops and goes into a further conversation. All that's running behind the scenes and in the cloud that you have no idea about in order to give you the information that you need. And it's very accurate. In the systems that I work with, we can get all the way down to the DNA of cancer cells that'll match every report that you'll have from the genetic studies that are done off of them. So, of course, that device that I use from Germany is an actual FDA and European Union cleared medical device that does those things. So the book that we recommend is called Frequency, The Power of Personal Vibration by Penny, Penney, Pierce, Peirce. That can be gotten at on Amazon for $13.89. So that should give people a very basic understanding of frequencies.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Diane is asking, when you do resonance scans, how much information do you need to put? Is it enough just to put their name, or do you need birthday?
Obviously, the more information that you give, the more detailed it will be. But realistically, their name, where they're at, general information, you're going to get it. But the more specific information that you have, the better off you will be with it.
Great. And then she's wanting to know about the percentages that we see as they're cycling through the frequencies.
Okay, so the percentage that comes up is talking about the percentage of relevance in what you need. So it's instead of just giving you 5 sets of different categories to look at, it puts it in a priority. So obviously, the top one is the most important one because that's the one that needs the most support at that moment. The other ones come into as lesser, and those will change. And as your bigger stressors and frequencies are built up, a lot of those other ones will change and will become something that they'll fluctuate back and forth. New ones will come in, old ones will go out.
And Helene was asking about the 5 areas that we look at. I think we're referring to when we run all programs, and then it gives you your top 5 pages to look at more deeply.
Correct. If you only run one specific program, and the ones that come up, obviously the top one. One of the devices that I use and helped with, sometimes I will always run the top and the bottom because if something's too low, it's obviously got a weakness there too that needs building up.
And then I think Diane's question was more about the percentage that you get as the frequency program runs around the circle, and you're seeing the specific frequency and then the percentage as you're watching it get higher.
When you see that percentage component of that frequency, it's telling you what percentage is that's going through to get to you. So you'll start off and you'll see black and it'll be at 1% for quite a while. Then it might jump to 4%. Then it might jump to 17%. And you'll see it going back and forth, smaller numbers, bigger numbers. It might jump to another frequency, backtrack back up and come back. So it's constantly moving through all of those frequencies for you. And at that percentage, it's telling you how much longer that one frequency needs as it's moving forward.
And it's my understanding once it gets up to maybe 95% or so, it moves on to another set of frequencies.
Correct. What do we have? Okay, and then Mary, hold on. Mary found another book that we'll give you the name of.
This one is so important.
Mary likes this one. Greg Braden. It's an audio book.
Audio collection.
GREGGBRADEN. So it's an audio book of collections that have to go through quite a bit about some of the frequencies and some of the things that were, how they're put together for these types of devices for vibrational medicine.
Okay, Marla, actually, no, only the resonance runs vibrations. None of the lower models will actually run vibrations. Tammy's asking, what is a good way to find out more information about the I Ching Bach flowers and
Okay.
All right. Bach flowers are from Australia, and you can find them online. They have all kinds of PDFs about them. So a Bach flower remedy is mostly works for mostly emotional stuff, and it's a compilation of different homeopathic blends of flower remedies. So think of essential oils done as an homeopathic that's used for emotions. I Ching is an ancient Chinese horoscope and spiritual, kind of like a spiritual tarot reading for classical Chinese medicine. So it gives you information about your subconscious, your conscious blockages that you have, things like that. I Ching is something that can be looked at. I'm sure you can find something online and stuff like that. Those are pretty simple things to find. Your salts are all, the category that comes in for the salts, those are all what we call cell salts. So we all, our body needs different types of salts. So those are just different forms of minerals that you can vibrate into your field.
Gina's asking for the teeth program. She's asking if it can help with infection, pain, remineralization, nerve regeneration. I guess she's asking what that program would address.
Okay. Well, it's going to support you, but just because we have to have a legal disclaimer, if you have a specific tooth issue, running the Healy as a thinking that's going to get you out of that, I wouldn't recommend it. But it's definitely going to regenerate tissue. For bacteria in the teeth, things like that, you do have a program for bacteria in there. But I haven't seen, but as I'm going to have to talk to Time Waiver on this, but I haven't seen every single frequency for bacteria. I guarantee not every one of them is in there. And when it comes to bacteria in the mouth, there are several different ones. So it could be hit or miss. But to support pain, lymphatic functioning, to have that draining, getting better circulation into your gums, helping, you can always run the bacteria. If there's something there that resonates with that frequency that you get, there will be a difference with it. If it's not going to do anything, but you can definitely calm the pain down with it.
Lori's asking if the bracelets are interchangeable with the patches.
Yes, they are.
Okay,
And you
and
can put the patches in a lot more places than you can the bracelets.
right. Deb is asking, are there areas in addition to the chest to avoid putting the electrodes?
Well, the biggest thing is not putting anything, obviously on your chest, just because of the fact that the chances are very slim, but even microcurrent, the disclaimer would be is that it could possibly affect a heart, like a heart rhythm. It cause an arrhythmia. So let's say you already have AFib and you're not aware of it, might make it a little bit worse. So that's one of the reasons why you don't put it on your chest. If you have anything that would be like an open skin area, I would, say I wouldn't put it right on there. I would put it, around it, surrounding it. If the skin's hypersensitive, sunburn, things like that, I wouldn't be placing those vibrations on there either. It wouldn't feel very good. Also, you have to be careful putting it up on your head. Wouldn't recommend putting it up, putting it in different places on your face.
This is a big question, and you talked about it a little bit last week, but Deb is asking how the Healy assesses what you need.
All right, so in that, I'm gonna say just like as if you were running the, having someone in your office doing the regular Time Waiver, is there's a list of programs that are run. So your database is run through complex algorithms, and in those algorithms, it's going to cascade. And it's pretty much going to be like the yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and it's going to compile as your body hits on it. So the Healy becomes just an extension of a conversation that you have with yourself or with anyone else. It's just the relationship between you and what's going on with you, and you have a window into that with this device. It's like, I always say, it's like a window into your soul. So it's going to have this conversation with you, and there might be things where you're saying, oh, my knee hurts. So let's pretend that your knee hurts, and you go to the orthopedic doctor. And he comes back, he does all his tests, and the next thing you know, he turns around and tells you there's nothing wrong with your knee, but you still have knee pain. Now you have to have some other work, something else looked at. It could be your ankle, it could be your hip, but you're experiencing one form of reality. The Healy gives you all forms of the reality that you're having, and there's many of them that are running in a subconscious that you're unaware of because you had no idea how it was impacting you.
Doris is asking, what program would you run for numbness and cold feet?
Circulation would be one. Nerves, the skin, lymph, the balance nerve, let's see here. Circulation under fitness would be one. That's number one, that one. The meridians, let's get into that. Let me get over here. Meridian, connective tissue would be important. Under meridian 2, circulation, lymphatic system, nerve meridian. Under beauty and skin, you have the option of running skin elasticity because that has your lymphatic support to it. I wouldn't be surprised if scars, so scars systemic and or scars local, would come up for someone who has neuropathy. Under bioenergetic balance 1, you have your circulatory system, and you also have nerves. So those would be the start for someone who had neuropathy. Then you can get into whether there's muscle, microvascular, things like that.
Mary, would you mind typing the name of the Greg Braden book into the chat for us?
Yeah, I'll have her when she gets back. She's walking the dog.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. So we have a question from Willow asking if the bracelets deliver a more powerful frequency than the vibration. So maybe you could talk about the microcurrent versus the vibration.
All right, so let's go back over the vibration versus current again. Vibration comes to you in a shorter wavelength over a longer period of time. And it comes at you, and it's very powerful. So it's done in short durations. I mean, you can check on your vibrate. You can go longer if you want to. But I think it's set at 1 minute and 20 seconds. The more chronic problem that you have, the more you can run in the vibration, but you really don't want to go too long. It's not like you have a chronic condition and say, oh, vibrate this for 8 hours or 24 hours and be a little bit too much for you. When you actually run the microcurrent, you're actually getting the microcurrent for one specific thing. So you're vibrating a whole list of stuff. It's putting it in your field. When you run that and do one specific thing. So let's say Meridian 1 is your number 1 category. After you've vibrated all those categories or whatever you've done for you, and then you actually run Meridian 1, and it comes up and it says, let's say it says large intestine. So now I've thrown into my field allergy meridian, connective tissue, bladder, large intestine, small intestine, fatty degeneration, gallbladder, joints, skin, and heart. And it comes back and tells me that it's my large intestine is the one I need the most. So now we've isolated and picked on that one. That's the one we're going to run. And now you're going to get something very, very specific to what's going, into that one system that you vibrated. So now you're drawing one of them into you directly. So they're both very powerful. It's just bringing more attention to one thing versus others.
And then back to our stress topic. I know you were going to talk about the sympathetic versus the parasympathetic system.
Okay, so in today's society, I don't care who you are, everyone has chronic stress. Matter of fact, chronic stress is something that everyone's had for years. You see, I see in my practice parents walking in with a 5 or 6 year old, and they have a day planner and schedule that looks crazier than mine. So here you have these kids micromanaged through all these activities all day with all these stresses and all the things that are needed and all the people around you. So when you have that chronic stress and you always have this cortisol boosting in you, you're now running in sympathetic mode. So there's no way to calm down. This is your new norm. This stress is normal to you. It has become something of a way of life until your body can't take it. So when you're younger, you don't notice it as much because you have other hormones for, as I always say, as Peter can rob Paul when you're younger. As you get older, so all of us women know when we hit about 40, we learn this new ugly word called perimenopause. All the stress that we have makes that come about so much faster as we burn through all the hormones that we have as we're heading into menopause. So it's very important that we take our body from sympathetic into a parasympathetic state. We've got to calm it down in ways that you see this. And when I do my body work on people, especially brain injuries, or my younger population today, where you see their pupils are completely dilated. So when your pupils are super wide all the time, it's like all this information rushing in at you constantly instead of having a chance to relax and filter out more information. And what it does to your physical body and changes it, puts you in a state where it affects what we call our primitive reflexes and things like that work with us. So then everything that you're doing, it reminds you that you're in constant stress or being eaten by a lion. And then you have to really work hard to get somebody out of that. So exercises that can help with that. People pray, they meditate, they go out for a walk, things like that. But you have to learn your breathing techniques, because when you're under stress, you forget to breathe and you're taking shorter breaths, your heart rate's up, your blood pressure starts to go up, putting more stress on your body. You're either stress eating, not eating. You start getting the cortisol belly, where you're getting more fat on you because your lymphatic system can't break those fats and proteins out of your system. And I can't stress enough, sleep and relaxation are the two most important things for you to be healthy and to have a long health. So you have a device. Many people can't meditate. I hear that all the time. They tell me that they're not capable of meditating. They can't get their mind to calm down. So now you have a device that can help you with components for meditation, relaxation. It can even take you to further levels than where you go. I have a very stressful job and have a very stressful life, as I would say. And that's on top of me doing 1 hour meditations twice a day. And it's still stressful.
I know immunity is on everyone's minds right now, and I was wondering if you could address how stress impacts immunity.
Okay, so as your stress levels build, it affects your white blood cells, and your white blood cells are what signal your defense system to come and help you. So if your white cell count is too low, your body has no defense against it, and now's not a really good time to not have a good immune system to help support you. And you'll have, so if your white cells are breaking down in that, then your body just starts to literally slow down one step at a time so that anything that's opportunistic can come in and get you. So if you find that you're having chronic colds or allergies are bugging you all the time, or rashes, things like that, you are already aware that your immune system has been run down. And not only does it run down in your blood system, but also your digestive enzymes, your appendix, which is, there to help you with probiotics and things like that to support your digestive system. Your digestive system gets weaker, burning through and slowing down. The liver slows down. Everything starts to slow down on you and run more sluggishly. So it's not something most people understand. And the easiest way for me to explain this is I tell people every day, your body is a Ferrari. You were born a Ferrari. Now, are you going to go to the gas station and put in 89 octane fuel in it when it needs to be at 98? So I could put 89 in it, but after a year, it's probably going to run like crap. So that's what stress does to your body. You're running on low octane fuel. It's not getting everything it needs, and it starts to break down. It needs maintenance. And then the maintenance becomes a lot more.
And can you talk about some programs that can support the immune system?
Yeah, just a second. I got Mary's alarm system here going off, bothering me. Snooze. All right, so immune system stuff that we can do. And as a person like myself who has autoimmune issues, meaning my immune system is way too active and likes to riot in my body. So people who have autoimmune issues, we have to do things different. But for people who want to actually bring about, supporting their immune system, balance. Number one, pure gold, under the gold cycle. Relax. Number two, under job and sleep. Exhaustion, systemic, acute, or extreme stress would be important. Always do not pass up any of the mental balance components, because you can run one. I like the feel good systemic one, or contentment. How many of you can actually say you're content about anything? Then you get to bioenergetic balance 1. You have immune system right there. So you can run that. I highly recommend hormones be run, because hormones are always impacted. Bioenergetic 2 on those balances. I always tell people when you're having a weak immune system, liver function and toxins would be very good to run. Under Meridian 2, hormonal balance, organ meridian, and kidneys, because your kidneys are where your adrenals are.
Great, thank you so much. I know
And then if you have the nutritional program, you can do even more.
Absolutely. I want to be respectful of your time, Yoda, so I don't want to go over our allotted hour, but I know there's a lot of questions about specific things. Maybe we can have another. We actually have 2 more Zooms scheduled for the next 2 Sunday nights. So save your questions, and we'll be announcing the topics for those.
Okay. And if anyone has anything that they would like specifically to look at moving further, I've committed myself to continue to do these Zooms to help people utilize their devices and get the fullest potential out of them. So feel free to bring those up.
Great. We so appreciate
your time. Again, and what about pregnancy? And again, about pregnancy. What about pregnancy? Is it about someone being pregnant?
I think we have to say for compliance reasons that it's not recommended for pregnancy, even if that may not be your answer.
Correct. Well, she didn't say about pregnancy, so I was going to say if it's a, it's like, is you trying to get pregnant or are you actually pregnant?
Yes.
So.
Okay. All right. Renee, did you have any messages for us to wrap it up? Is Renee on here?
Yes. Oops, sorry. Now my dog decides to bark. Just thank you so much, Lisa, and obviously Yoda. We're so grateful for your time, and also for Melissa running the Zoom tonight, and all of our guests.